Shut up! The Footy's on Triple M!
Now on Triple M Footy.
Too strong, too good.
This is the Midweek Rub.
That is just brilliant.
How do you like those apples?
Triple M rocks footy.
Yes, hello. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, exclusively on the Listener app. Joey Montagna here, and alongside me, as always, Duck, Damo, and Daisy, fresh off another game of footy down for the Sereno Sharks.
Yes, I'm in very good form, Joey. Very, very good form. I'm not sure if they have an All-Australian in the twos, but I'd be an absolute lock.
The way you're going, you'll be in the under-8s next week. You're going down a level each week.
That's true. I'd play.
When you say you're fresh off a sporting pursuit, you're fresh off the bike today.
Yeah,
I saw you wheel that up the stairs.
I told you a couple of weeks ago I was going to get a bike just to try and drop a few of these COVID kegs, and I went down and saw the good people at Giant Ormond. Oh boy, aren't they good? And very good people.
I noticed you're eating a marinated lettuce leaf as well.
I'm on the look. Health and fitness has always been my life, so
won't last long.
Yeah, no, I did have a bottle of wine last night, but not the point. I'll stick with it. I'll see how I go.
The lettuce won't last. You've got to add a little bit of flavour, a bit of meat or something.
There was a chicken schnitzel underneath it.
And Joey, the other thing I did notice in his little backpack that he started to rummage through after he got off the bike was a little can of deodorant. And can you? It smells like a Year 9 classroom here. That's Lynx. He's got
the old Lynx, the old school Lynx.
Lynx Africa.
I put the antiperspirant on for the ride in, but then I didn't want to wear the full lycras in, so I just wore a casual top whilst I rode in. I didn't overexert myself.
It was Lynx, wasn't it?
It was definitely Lynx.
I can see you in a couple of weeks with those little weights. Martin.
Well, you walk in every week with the active wear on. Do you actually come straight out of doing some exercise, or do you just wear the active wear every day?
I do the,
it is some nice Adidas active
because
wear
of
too.
COVID, I've got into the habit, unless I've got an actual meeting on, I don't actually get dressed up for the day. So I put this on, and then during the day, if I've got something on, I get home, get changed, and then go from there.
And the last meeting you told us about was just happened to be in a pub, Duck, the Wolf and I, a couple of weeks ago.
The Wolf and I?
You have a lot of meetings in pubs, don't you?
You know what? You can have a lot of meetings in those types of venues, which can filter on, as you know.
Hey, plenty of footy news to get through. Damo, we'll get to yours shortly. Plenty happening, particularly with the Tigers and the Pies and the Blues, a couple of big clubs. But we've now got a new segment, boys. I don't know if you know about this, but Daisy has brought something to the table.
Daisy's Hero of the Round.
Stage is all yours, mate.
Stinger.
I like it.
Yes,
stinger.
very, very good. I came up with that one myself. Been working hard when I haven't been working out. But the hero of the week. So I just thought there's so many good things that happen throughout the week. We often focus on the negatives. So I thought I would go with a hero this week. And, well, have a listen to this. And this is how it was called on Triple M for my hero of the week.
Punch to the back, who's home? Oh, Mark off the ground. He's running to the goal umpire. He's smashed into the deck. The goal umpire's been smashed into the turf by Dusty Martin.
Now that, of course, the goal umpire in the Richmond GWS game, Adam Wojcik. Now, Dusty Martin absolutely mixed him, put him straight through the ringer. His shoulder came out. He called the ball a goal, which resulted in Richmond winning the game. Now, this bloke, not only did he do his job, Nat Fyfe cleaned him up in round one. Joey Danaher, I should say, took a hanger on him throughout the year. So this bloke has been in more contests than I have in the last couple of weeks. So for that reason, he got up, he called it a goal, he did his job, he went off with a dislocated shoulder. So to him, Adam Wojcik, you are my hero of the week.
I like
Nice.
it. I really like it, and clearly putting himself in the right position. So just brave as anyone you'll ever see.
He held his ground, didn't he?
And you know what I love about this segment? We do this on the Sunday Rub. So you've just stolen it. You've just stolen our segment.
Rabsy.
Our big positive.
That's a better stinger, though, isn't it?
That's a way better stinger.
Well, there you go.
What are you doing? I'd like a better stinger on a Sunday. Much better stinger. But I love that. And you're right, clearly putting his body on the line, don't
I'll
it?
tell you what, there's a lot of players when Dusty Martin is running at them that would take their eye off the ball and go,
Jump out the way.
Yeah, correct. And he kept his
sit
eye
under
on
Danaher
it. Yeah,
as well.
so very, very well done to him and
Good
well done
stuff.
to me. What a great start to the show.
Is that going to be a regular now every week?
Every week, probably twice weekly if we can get it in.
It's easy to get up. It's easy to get up, by the way, isn't it? Nice. Melbourne going to be 17, 18, 19 over the weekend. Just puts you in a whole different mood, Damo.
Does it, Duck?
It absolutely.
Yeah. No, I'm with you, Duck.
Yeah.
The sun comes out.
Bike riding mood.
No, that's it.
Last week was a horrible week. So the nice weather, hopefully everyone gets out and watches the footy. And we'll get to the footy after this because Damo, as always, has got plenty happening on Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub. It's time for Damo, the footy news of the week.
We'll start with Collingwood, Joey, and the stand-in president, who then became the permanent president, Mark Corder, has now put out the shot on Jeff Brown's bid to become the new boss of the Collingwood Footy Club. So he's basically reiterated what he said about it not being wise for a footy club to go down the coup path, which Jeff will need to do if he wants to do, as he's telling people he wants to do, and that is get on the board. So ultimately, it doesn't change anything. I still take Jeff at his word, at what he's been saying to people behind the scenes, Duck, that he will do it. I feel Mark Corder's been there for too long for what it's worth. To me, there's too much of a link with him personally to the Eddie Maguire regime. They've got other people on the board and they're making changes in that space, but they've got to sort it out, I feel, in the next month, around this bye period, because that's when they need to get serious about the Nathan Buckley conversation days, and they can't do that as a footy club and a board within that footy club until they sort their own problems out before they get to the coach.
At the minute, do you see it as the people putting their the hat in the ring are putting their own personal agendas before the football club at the minute? So do you think Corder wants to be the president exclusively, whereas if a Jeff Brown or someone comes in, that's going to be the better thing for the football club?
They would say, the individuals in question, no to that question, but ego does get caught up in it at any level of footy industry, and I've got no doubt the egos are at play here. That doesn't mean that the individuals are not doing it in their own minds for the right reasons, and I don't have a great problem with the coup, as Mark Corder refers to it, which is the extraordinary general meeting. Yes, it's disruptive. Yes, it costs money, but they're closed shops, Duck. Footy club boards are closed shops.
It lacks stability, Collingwood Footy Club at the minute. And it's obviously from the top down. And Eddie Maguire, that's what he gave this footy club for so long. Ed, and we've spoken about this, Daisy, because we probably know him personally. I mean, you know him personally as well, but he's the stability he gave this club and the stability he gave to Nathan Buckley, and then in turn that just filtered down through the rest of the club. It is no longer there. And when you're talking coups and stuff like that, I disagree. I think it is disruptive, and it's disruptive because of the fact, because of that, they probably can't make an early call now on Nathan Buckley.
That's right.
Which I think is paramount. And I know you guys spoke about it on your show on Fox Footy. So for me, that is disruptive, because I think sooner rather than later that call has to be made either way.
Isn't that the big issue out of this, Damo? If they do call an extraordinary general meeting, you can't make a decision on Nathan Buckley until we know who the board is.
Yeah.
So do you have any timeline on when this extraordinary general meeting can be held, or if it'll be held, or when? Because that will determine when they can make a decision on Buckley one way or the other.
It will. I mean, the bye period coming up in the next 3 to 4 weeks for most clubs, that to me would be the outside time. But there's constitutional requirements which differ at each club, but it's usually a 28-day notice period for the election to be called. So you need to work backwards from that date. And that's just a figure I've plucked there, Daisy, but I've done a lot of these type of stories at clubs over the years, and it's usually a month requirement publicly to be released. So, yeah, a bit to go on with it, and it's ugly because of the Nathan Buckley unknown.
Has Eddie Maguire said who he wants to be the next president?
You can take it, it'll be Jeff Brown that he's
so is that who Eddie...
He won't say that.
I reckon if Eddie comes out publicly and whoever he says his predecessor wants to be, I reckon that's who it'll be.
And again, he won't say this either, but he fell out with his own board, and Mark Corder was one of those people. I believe he is not as close to as he once was. Clearly, he got Mark Corder onto the board. And I feel his allegiances are with Jeff Brown. Again, I actually expect him to actually even deny that, but that's my take on what this scenario is as it's unfolding, given he goes way back with Jeff.
I don't think Eddie would be saying who he endorses, because anyone he does endorse, the media then will jump on if they do get the position and say, oh, it's all because of Eddie and whatnot like that. So, but you're right, they 100% need to make something happen on the presidential level and the coaches level, because at the minute, this season's toast. But what you can do is start getting some momentum for the next season into a pre-season if you get the ball in motion now, and they're not doing that, so they're looking like at the minute they're just going to waste an entire 12 months.
What about the other biggest football club in the land, Richmond Football Club? For different reasons, they're also in the news.
Yeah, they got the win that they just so often get against the odds. It was against the odds, Duck, wasn't it? When it was 28 points to deficit late in the third quarter against GWS, and then they with a B and C grade midfield who were covering for the likes of Cochin and Prestia and Lambert and Edwards who was out as well. So it was a very impressive win. They do it in their own way. They do it in a way that annoys the competition, given that the comments were made pre that game and post the game at Marvel Stadium being a problem venue for the club.
It's another example of the way they play, because they're never out of a game, and it's not based on being highly skilled, and it is based on effort. And they bring that effort, so therefore they are constantly in the game all of the time, and they're consistent across the board. And it doesn't matter who's out there or who's not. And they're just brilliant. They've been unbelievably good.
What have you made of their persona, though, Duck, with Richmond Football Club? A lot of talk about whether there's a bit of arrogance creeping in. It's us against the world mentality. What's your take on the Richmond Football Club?
Yeah, look, I think that's always whenever you're the premier and whenever you've been successful for a fair period of time, then it seems like the rest of the world is against you. I think that was the case for Hawthorn only a few years ago, and now people are sort of going, "Oh, poor Hawthorn." It doesn't take long for us to turn. I mean, we were saying that about Richmond 4 or 5 years ago. Poor Richmond, and now it's the tall poppy. I think
they bring it on themselves, though, Doug.
We're big with the tall poppies. If once someone reaches the top, we want to bring them down, and that's where Richmond sit, unfortunately.
I don't see it that way, Doug. I see a club, to Joey's point, changing its own character and almost bringing on and creating controversy. I mean, to use the word hate when it comes to where you are required to play a game of football, as Damien Hardwick did post the match, I found that as arrogant at its highest levels.
I will say this, and success can do this to people. I certainly know for myself, when you first start playing and then you become a good player and you're the captain, you're winning premierships and all that sort of stuff. You do. There's changes, and it's not until later that you sort of sit back and go, yeah, I changed. There's no doubt in my mind that Dimmer. I mean, how he was, his persona, the way he treated the media 3 or 4 years ago is very different. 4 or 5 years ago is very different to the way he treats the media now.
Right.
Now, is that because of success? Only Dimmer can answer that. But I will say his demeanour with the media is very different now. Now, is that because he feels attacked? He's standing up for his club. There's all sorts of reasons for it. Only he can answer whether he's changed as a person or not.
If anyone saw that Amazon Prime documentary last year, everything they spoke about was humble and hungry. I just, question at the minute whether saying that you genuinely hate a place, almost encouraging your fans not to turn up to stick it up the AFL in terms of having to pay for seats and whatnot. If you're a supporter, you go to support. It doesn't matter if they're playing in Chachura 2s, you go and support as a supporter. So at the minute, I don't think that he's living up to the values that they've openly put out to everyone, hungry and humble. I would disagree that that's not aligned.
So you maintain that they've got the hunger?
You can see on the weekend they're certainly hungry, but no doubt at times. Yeah. And as you're right, when we were in 2010, 2011, when we were the best side in the comp, the humility does seem to, we don't want to do a clinic on a Tuesday. We don't travelling to Marvel, and we were guilty of it as Collingwood players. But it shouldn't. If that's what you're pushing and that's your motto, that's your mantra.
Never too late to sit there and say, well, maybe we
time for reflection.
Got away from it, and it's easy to do, isn't it?
You could argue they got away from it last year, Duck, and the unfortunate aspect of that for the rest of the competition, who wasn't barracking for them on grand final day, and no one will say that, but they weren't. their behaviours ultimately were validated by the success in their mind, and the little 1%ers that other people look at maybe disconcertingly now are viewed differently internally, and they're just carrying on life the way they feel they need to at the moment, and they don't actually care for these opinions that we're offering right now, do they?
They handle a crisis better than anyone, though. I'll put hand on heart, say if you were in a crisis and you'd stuffed up, you'd want to be at that football club. Everything is done. This is what it is. This is what's happening. This is the punishment. We don't give a crap your opinion.
They're behind one. There's no doubt they're behind one another.
That's right.
No doubt.
Different to Collingwood. They're sticking fat.
They are united.
They stick fat. Absolutely. Yeah. Can't discredit them for that. Just quickly, Damo, a couple of other talking points. Great news. Team announcements for the weekend. The ins and outs will be now on Thursdays, which is common sense. Great to see.
You've been big on that, haven't you?
Yeah,
I think you as much as anyone drove that early days, and as of this round, the Thursday teams are back, which I think is good because every club, don't they? They know well before Thursday anyway. It was done for COVID reasons last year with the games being played on 4 and 5 day breaks, and the necessity of this not knowing who was going to be available for each game. It's not that case now, and it's back.
Yeah, got lost for Sunday games. Who was in and out Saturday night? No one even really noticed. And then lastly, the mid-season draft. It's only just around the corner. Starting to look at some names and some clubs that might need some players as Daisy flexes his muscles now that he's back in form for the Sereno reserves.
There's going to be a heap of hype and hope around this particular situation in the draft, but there's going to be probably less than half the clubs taking a pick, I think, Joey. And we've got some celebrated cases out of it already, haven't we? With John Noble at Collingwood and Marlon Pickett at Richmond, and there's others. Ryan Gardner, I think, was one, wasn't he?
Will Snelling's done pretty well.
Snelling, so there's some good stories out of it. Jacob Edwards is the one that is probably going to get a nice long-term deal out of being the first pick if he still chooses to nominate, and he'll go to North Melbourne, who's a big guy, ruckman, who will go apparently in the first round if he waits to the national draft.
I like it for that reason. I mean, there's someone that's going to get an opportunity that normally wouldn't get an opportunity. So that's why I like it. Are there clubs, though, that have got 2 or 3 picks?
There's clubs.
So as you said, only half the clubs
at this
will
stage
get a pick. But
still,
there are clubs that have got 2 or 3 picks
if they want to use them.
If they want to use
them,
okay.
yeah.
And this is why Kangaroos won't get a priority pick, but in some ways, this Jake Edwards could almost be. Is it Jake Edwards?
Jacob.
Jacob Edwards. That's almost the priority pick for the Kangaroos. They're almost getting access to a top 20 talent in the mid-season draft with pick 1, so it's almost like an extra pick for them.
Good way of looking at it,
Joey.
Yeah, and that's a better mechanism than giving them a priority pick at the start of the draft. Yep.
On the Midweek Rub, it's time for Duck Dive.
I'm good from the waist down.
Quick 5.
Whack, whack, whack. Duck dive, quick 5. First question. We spoke a little bit about the Buckley coaching situation in the previous break, but do you think there will be a new senior coach for any club in season 2022?
Oh, for any club? No.
Same 18 coaches next year?
I reckon we're going to have the same 18.
Damo, not as confident?
It's a question without notice that does require a bit of notice if you're doing it seriously.
Yeah.
But I'm a bit with Duck right
Gut
now.
feel, more of a gut feel.
Yeah,
rather
the
than
gut
a
feel
fact
right
or
now
no.
says that there's no pressing outside of Buckley, which we don't know about. I'm with Duck on
For
it.
that reason, I think no.
Yeah.
Yep.
Daisy?
I'm going to go with no also.
Yeah. It's chopped and changed a little bit, hasn't it?
Well, I
It
just
can.
think that the Pies have got themselves in such a pickle now that who's going to really go there and coach, and then it looks like they're just going to back Bucks in. So
Yeah. My gut feel is it'll be no as well. I think maybe they'll all get a first crack at it next year.
What are you going to write about?
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly. Maybe some footy stuff. Maybe this one. Duck question 2. Which team currently? Because this last weekend there was it was a bit of a moving round for the ladder. A lot of the top 8 teams put a bit of a gap on the bottom 10 teams. Which team outside of the top 8, so particularly the Giants, Fremantle, St Kilda, and Carlton, is most likely to make the 8 by the end of the year?
None, I don't think.
You think
But
they'll
I think
eight set?
I think there's only one club in the 8 that can't win the flag.
Yep.
And that's the Swans.
But you think they'll
I
make
think-
the 8?
But I think they'll make the 8 now. I think there's 7 teams that can win finals. And sorry to the Swans because it'll be an almighty effort, I think, to play finals this year. But having watched them the last 2 weeks in a row, I just don't think they're ready to win a premiership. I reckon the other 7 in the 8 right now, they get on a roll, right form, right fitness at the right time, they can all win the flag, all 7.
they have to be pretty confident, though. They've rolled the Tigs and the Cats.
I know,
Yeah.
I know. And you know what,
So-
you never say never, but
no, it's a fair
I
shout.
just think, just looking at their squad right now, I don't think they can.
Now, I agree with you. I think this year, more than ever, the top 4 is crucial because all these sides are so good at home. Port Adelaide and West Coast and Brisbane, the Melbourne clubs, they want to play. You'd want to finish top 4 this year to give yourself the best chance of winning a flag.
Slightly off your point, but I reckon of the bottom 8 sides, Essendon play the best brand of football.
Yep, I like that.
Toby Green going down for the Giants doesn't help.
Yeah,
the cause.
no, that's
what
massive.
Taylor does it.
Makes it difficult for these teams outside the top 8. There's almost a 2-game swing, except for Richmond, who are just the 1 game out. But we all believe once they get some personnel back, they'll be fine. Well, that takes away my next question about: are you concerned about Port Adelaide? Because there's been a lot of talk about Port against the top sides. You're not concerned? You still think they can win the flag?
Not concerned. I think they're in the flag window. That's the magical word that everyone wants to use.
Yep.
3 bad losses to 3 good clubs. Two
Yeah.
away, 1 at home.
Yeah, I know. I'm not too worried. They were a kick away from a grand final last year.
Yeah,
2
but
more. Sorry, Damo.
I am.
And they've
for
got
what
a
it's
few
worth.
to come. And they've got a few. They've like Richmond. They've got some good players to come back into that team as well.
Away losses, which you cop, obviously, to Brisbane and West Coast, but the home loss to the Bulldogs, and I felt the Bulldogs
By the way, the
handled them.
Bulldogs are a good team.
That's my point.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
might not be a better team than Port.
yeah. Well, they were on that day.
Yep. Max King being reported that he's going to sign a 4-year deal for $3 million. Are you comfortable with that? You think that's fair?
Look,
$750 a year on average.
I'm all for players getting what they deserve. What it does do is it puts pressure on him.
So what they deserve? or-
Well, what they deserve is what someone's prepared to pay. That's how I look at
Yep.
it, and it's fantastic for him. But I think we've made this comment a few times on this show, and that is that I tell you what, he'd want to go back and start slotting them through from 20 out directly in front if you're getting paid $750, or go out, hire someone, go and hire a goal kicking guru, go and grab BT. He says he's the best goal kicking man that's ever lived. Go grab him.
It emerged
pay
with
him-
other problems, though, wouldn't he? He might fix his goal kicking.
No, but pay him 15, 20 grand. It's fully tax deductible because you're working on your trade, fully tax deductible. And I'll tell you what, you'll get another few zeros on your contract if you start putting those through. So, yes, good on him. Well done. And they're just, look, he's a very good player. He's got great hands. He's got all the attributes you want.
Yep.
but right now he's lacking real confidence in some of his areas, and that's below his knees.
Yep.
And also, obviously, his goal
So
kicking.
then how convince you that if you're saying he's lacking confidence, it's getting a goal-kicking
And I
expert, or
reckon
is it
it's
a
up here.
psychologist?
I reckon it's a psych.
I
it's-
agree with Daisy. I think it's more mental
above
than
his,
it is
It's above his
technical.
shoulders, but
Yep.
but sometimes you get someone that
Yep.
you're a bit of both. That
Yep.
person that comes in that just helps you a little bit technically, I think helps the psych as
Yeah, it
well.
does.
You got to have a technique that you believe in,
Yep.
but then
Yeah.
once you believe in it, you have to have the intestinal fortitude, the strength of mind to go back and execute
on.
every time.
Yep.
If you miss your first two, you stick to the process and know it's going to be good enough.
I say this, and I'll say it again for this show, and that is, there's no difference between the thoughts of all players. Doesn't matter how good a kicker you are.
Yep.
You go back, you say, I've got to kick this. There's negative thoughts jump in. It's being able to execute under those thoughts.
Yes.
That's the difference between a guy that's a good kick and a guy that's not a good kick at goal.
Yep. Executing under pressure. And the best way to do it is, as you said, if you've had thousands of repetitions, you are much more confident because you've done it. Now, at AFL level, that's the issue. Do these players have thousands of shots for goal? No, they don't. So maybe they need to spend a bit more time on their mental strength and being able to handle it under pressure. Last one, it's another player that's just re-signed, also for 4 years, Paddy Cripps, which we all love. Great to see him stay at Carlton.
Well done to the Carlton Footy Club. Well done to Paddy Cripps.
How long will it be till he plays in a final, though, Duck? Because he's been at Carlton his whole career, never played in a final.
Will
He's
he play
now
in a
signed
final?
another 4 years. Will he play?
I tipped them to play finals this year. That is now out of the question.
Right.
So I was wrong again.
So
on the Blues, I'm prepared to double down.
and say next year.
Say next year.
Definitely.
Now, I've been saying that for the last 3, but I'm prepared to say next year.
Okay. So
That
we
is
know
a-
Duck's thoughts. If you just keep putting black on the roulette table, eventually it's going to land on
You know,
black.
hey,
He's got enough
and he
cash
was
to
gonna
keep
say he
doing
was
it
right.
too.
Sometimes it comes up green though, Joey. As well.
The law of probability.
Yeah, that's right.
Well done to Paddy Cripps, though, because that is great faith in the football club.
Yeah.
For him to sign, there was offers everywhere. The Western Australian clubs were all up him. So well done to him. He's the captain. His heart is now true blue, so well done to him.
And sometimes players get paid on potential, like Max King, and sometimes
And
you
he's not.
sometimes you reward players for what they've done for your football
Spot
club,
on.
which I also agree. This has been Triple M Footy's Midweek Rub, exclusively on the Listener app, and we're going to take a look ahead to this weekend's rounds. But before we do that, as always, we go back to last weekend to take a look at our certainties. Duck, you said Sydney to beat Collingwood.
Yep.
You were spot on. Damo, you went out in a limb, took the D's to beat the Blues. That was a big one. The D's won that comfortably. But let's take a look, listen to how Daisy and I went. Hey, can I take my certainty in the Power v Dogs game? I think Port Adelaide are my certainties to win this. Yep, got that one well and truly wrong. Put my hand up. Certainty. Daisy, pick the game.
Well, you said not to sort of go with a bit of a specky, but I am.
That's all right. It's beer for us.
I'm going to take North Melbourne.
You're a genius, Daisy.
I can't disagree with you.
The first win in, what was it? The first win in 17 games.
And second in 24.
26 points down at quarter time.
And I've got to put my hand up.
Yeah, we're wrong
I'm
too.
wrong. I said the Kangas might go through. Well, not might. I said they would go through winless this year.
There's another 6.
And so proven wrong. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, there's more going out than 6. So I had a few side
did you
side
really?
bets
With a
with a
few
few
people?
North Melbourne mates and ex-players and
I'm sure you're
teammates
happy to
and-
be wrong, though, Duck.
I'm very happy to be wrong,
good.
and I've said that. But well
Well-
done,
well done to
Well, they were
them.
showing improvement over the last
Yeah.
few weeks. So no, well done.
It's one
I'm
thing
very
to
happy
improve,
for
though.
David
It's
Noble.
one thing to improve, but what the other thing is to get the actual job done.
that's
And
right.
26 points down, and just the excitement on the players' faces as a bloke who's been in that position playing at a side that is struggling. That is genuine euphoria.
And the weight off the shoulders will make a difference over the next few weeks as well. So let's have a look at this weekend's games. The big one to kick off is going to be Friday night. Brisbane Lions v Tigers at the Gabba, Duck.
Yeah, humming along the lines, aren't they? And the fact that that's at home and the Tigers, well-documented players that are out, I just can't see. And I know the Tigers, we've spoken about them already, how good they've been, but I can't see them beating the Lions at home on Friday night. So I'm going to go, as my certainty, I'm going to go with the Lions.
Very
big.
good. Yeah, no, that's fair enough.
Tigers have won 15 of 16 against the Lions.
Ooh, some teams do just have the wood. But Dusty's going to have to find something even more than he did last week, I think, if they're to beat the Brisbane Lions at the Gabba. Damo, you like the Cats v Suns game? You think Geelong should win that one?
I'm going out on a limb here, Joey.
You're
and,
not really going to take this as your certainty, are you?
I was shell-shocked at the start of the year. I think I went 0-3 in the certainty, so I need to consolidate.
Is that at the Cattery, by the way?
Yeah, really risky
6
tip.
and zip they are against the Gold
I'll tell you what,
Coast.
if I
Give
get
us
this
a
one
line.
wrong,
Give us a point start at
Yeah.
least.
I'll owe 12 cans, not 6 if I get it wrong.
Okay.
So the- so the
And you've
go-
got to give us a line
the-
for that as well. And it has to be
Some
juicy.
sort of start. 10 points.
Six and a half. Yeah.
6.5 goals. We'll take that.
Yeah.
If it was a normal weekend this time of year, and it would be very, very cool down there, but I think we're going to get a nice weekend. So the Suns won't be as, cold.
So you reckon that'll make them play better?
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Imagine you go from the Gold Coast down to Geelong to play a game in nearly winter.
Yeah.
It's a big difference. I'm big on the weather.
Daisy, the Hawks playing Carlton. Surely the Blues take care of business in this one and get that win on the board they've been chasing.
You'd imagine so, but history says no. 11 of 12. The Hawks have won in this one. So just teams having the wood.
Yeah.
Of course, last year over in, was it Optus Stadium? The Blues have got 6 goals up, I think it was, or near on that in the first quarter. Hawks came back and beat them. So they will be responding. It's a bit of a danger game for the Blues, but I will tip the Blues.
You going to take them as your certainty, or have you got another game?
Nah.
No.
Absolutely not. I will take the D's to beat the Crows.
Oh, okay. D's to beat the Crows.
It's over there.
It's more or less top, nearly bottom.
No. The other couple of games we'll quickly touch on, Pies and Power. Can anyone see Collingwood doing something special, beating the Power at the MCG?
No, I think they'll be really, really hungry, the Power, after last week. Power will win.
Worst case result for the Pies was the Power getting done, wasn't it?
Yeah. What about, can anyone see St Kilda upsetting the Dogs at Marvel Stadium?
No.
Their best, the Saints, is good enough. We've seen that. But you
even
can't
the final last year,
but you can't tip against the Dogs.
Not at the moment.
Rowan Marshall going down indefinitely again is a major concern for the Saints.
And Zach Jones in that midfield. Don't underestimate the way that he plays.
So who's yours?
I'm going to take Fremantle to beat Sydney Swans. Freo are in Perth.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think the Dockers will bounce back. They were in control of that game against Essendon. They really should have won. They just could not put it through the big sticks.
Yeah.
It's cost them in a lot of games. They're clearly 18th in the competition, which makes it hard to win games of footy. But I think, as you just said about Sydney, I've just a couple of things about the Swans that maybe they're vulnerable to be beaten, and I think Freo back at home will win that one. So they're my certainty. Everyone given their certainties? Yep. That's the last one I want to get a tip on, because this is, for mine, the 50-50 game. The Giants v. the Eagles at Giant Stadium. Who are we tipping in that one? No Toby Green, of course, and I think West Coast might get a few players back from injury.
You mentioned their match winner, the captain at the moment, so the Eagles for me.
Same.
Eagles as well.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Hey, another good show, boys. Thanks for that. We've loved it. And don't forget, you can listen to every game across round 10 on Triple M, starting with the big Friday night blockbuster between Brisbane and Richmond, live from 6 p.m. with Howie, Das, the Chief, Nath Brown, Damien Barrett, and Ash Chua. Thanks for joining us for another edition of Triple M's Midweek Rub.